Hi and welcome to Art from the Heart. This will be a video showing you the embellishments that I've made and how to make them, and the last video will show how to place them in the book. So I'm glad that you've joined me. I'll go ahead and get started by telling you the tools that I have. A paper punch, a corner rounder, scissors, bone folder, a nail file, a piece of sandpaper, some ribbon, some double-sided tape, the ink that I'll rubber stamp with, 3 rubber stamps, and also this distress oxide in abandoned coral, and the Tim Holtz stencil, the honeycomb stencil. So let's get started. First of all, I used the Sizzix, the bright red Sizzix machine that's been around for a while, and I glued the black and white paper onto a sheet of thin cardboard, and I placed it under something heavy to let it dry. And then I cut that and used that when I was using the Sizzix to punch out some embellishments that I'll be using, because I wanted a more substantial base for that. I also used double-sided cardstock and used the file folder Sizzix die cut and cut those out because I'll be using those. I also had in my craft closet these index cards, and I placed it in the book to determine if I wanted to use it as it is, and I decided that I didn't because it didn't go well with the black and white theme inside the book. So I found this great double-sided paper and used this to trace 2 index cards to use, and so I won't be using this. And I had just enough paper to make these 2, and it doesn't bother me that they're different sizes. And then I had this canvas tag, and I was experimenting with it. I painted it with pink chalk paint and also the gold Lumiere paint. They're both water-based paints. And then I let it dry completely. I took a piece of sandpaper and I started sanding it to see if I could get a more cohesive look. And then I used the Tim Holtz stencil and his pouncer. You can make one of these with a block of wood and a piece of felt. I want to use this one that isn't black. And I started pouncing on the tag to see if I liked that look. A lot of what I do is kind of trial and error just to see if I like it or not, and sometimes I don't end up using it at all. But I kind of like that look, even though it reminds me of a giraffe at the zoo. I think I might end up using that. I'm not 100% sure yet. And the other thing I tried doing with the pouncer is just to, on the edge, apply some of this really pretty coral to the edge of the tag, and I like that. And then I had this rubber stamp, and so I stamped that to fit inside the opening here. This tag had the little white edges, the little nubs that stick out, and so I used the nail file to file those down before I started stamping. And so I'll set this aside. I am thinking about using it. I did try this kind of cotton ribbon and I didn't like it, but I had this black ribbon with words printed. It says heart, wonder moments, dream, smiles. And so I probably, if I use the tag, will use that ribbon. And then the other black and white items that I found in my craft closet, I didn't adhere this to anything to make it more substantial. I like it the way it is, but I did use the abandoned coral on the edge just to add a pop of color to that. And then this embellishment was just a flat piece of paper. I glued it to black cardstock, and then I glued it to another piece of black paper and then I glued that to cardboard and then to the black and white polka dot. And it just made it a more substantial embellishment that's raised, and I like that look. I did find some Bible verses that I like that go along with the theme of the book. And I printed them on an 8.5 by 11 piece of white cardstock, cut them apart. When you're doing small verses like this, I'd make 2 columns in a Microsoft Word document, and then I placed them all on that page and printed it, cut it apart with the paper cutter, and then I used the Score It tool just to add a score line along the edge for a little bit of interest. And you know, that's not something that you have to do. This scoring tool works really well, but if you don't have it, I wouldn't worry about it. The other thing that you can do is, if you have a bone folder and a paper cutter, or even the paper trimmers sometimes have these scoring lines. And what you can do is just line it up and put it in that scoring line and make a line if you want to, or you don't have to do it at all. And so I'm going to add tabs to the different sections, and I'm still undecided about which tabs to use. These I cut with the Sizzix. Another simple way of making a tab is to use an oval like this, or even a large round circle, and cut that out of heavy cardstock and fold it in half, and I think that looks cute like that. I think that would be a cute tab to have for different sections of your journal or photo book. And then I have this library card that I'm going to use. I'm not sure how, but you'll see when we assemble the book next time. So the last thing I wanted to do was stamp, because I stamp ahead of time so that I know where the stamps are going to go and what they're going to look like. And so I'm using these 2 clear stamps. I thought this stamp looked like royalty. And then this stamp is the stamp, it's a sparrow on a branch, and it's really cute. And it kind of ties into the paper that I used, but also the Bible verse about God sees the sparrow, and if he sees the sparrow, he's sure to see me also. And so I want to use that in the book. And then lastly, I found in my set of stamps this little girl, and I want the little girl to represent the little girl in me. And so first of all, I stamped it using the black instant dry pigment ink to see what it looks like. And I like it. It's really cute. She has that kind of innocent look, but I didn't like the hard edges. And so then I stamped it again to get a lighter look, and I like it, but then the image is a little bit blurry. And so then I took the ink off the stamp, and I went back with the Tim Holtz pouncer. I don't know if that's what he calls it. And I decided to use the black ink, but put the ink only where I wanted it. So I did this, avoiding the hard edges. And I pounced it until I thought that I would have enough ink, trying to avoid the hard edges. And then I tried that. And that's the look I'm going for. So you can see her face, and the edges are real soft, and I'm going to stamp that directly onto the paper. So I think I've covered everything that I wanted to, and I will hope to see you next time.